Hello everyone, Simage here with another 1cc commentary covering my 5-all of Alpine Ski. I managed to get this personal best done recently. This run took me all the way into Loop 6 on 1 credit. This game was made by Taito and released back in 1982 after Space Invaders, but before a lot of their other famous franchises like Elevator Action, Bubble Bobble, and Darius. Loop 1 is really easy. In fact, it's easier than most shmups to get a clear on 1 credit, at least the first loop that is. And stage 1 is just a basic downhill course. The goal here is to get to the end of the course while crashing as few times as possible. That's the goal. Unfortunately, I just crashed right there. Now, you do want to avoid that because you do lose time every time you crash. But it's not a run killer yet. In fact, my first loop here was worse than my second and third loop on this run, oddly enough. Not too bad of a time for crashing once. So that was stage 1. I just kept going fast through it. So in order to do this, you need to hold the accelerate button. You only have 1 button in this game, and it speeds you up. If you don't, you go pretty slow, but you can't slow down, which is kind of funny. Unfortunately, I just had another crash there. By the way, stage 2 is your slalom stage. You're really supposed to go around a lot of these flags carefully, but I don't bother with that. I just bother speeding through them, even if I run them over. I'm really just looking to survive here. If you go between the flags, you can collect these bonus items for extra points. Some of them are just not worth grabbing because it's too risky, but some of them are very easy to grab. The lower the point total for these bonuses, the easier they are to get typically. And that is stage 2. The last stage of every loop is a big jump. So what you want to do is press accelerate to start going down the ramp. And as you're coming off the ramp, you want to hit the accelerate button again to do a big jump. The better you time this jump, the further you go. Do not hold the button down because you will not do the jump properly if that's the case. You'll end up going maybe a couple hundred meters or so and then you'll crash when you land. So don't do that. It's an easy way to get points though, if you do it right. So now we are in loop 2. It doesn't take long to go from loop to loop, not much of a transition. And the big thing here is that the AI on the skiers and the snowmobiles are going to start getting more annoying. The stage layouts don't really change much, if at all, otherwise. But you see right there, the skiers get a lot more annoying. They tend to get more in your way at this point. So I'm going to pass them up here. I'm in the clear for now. Still in the clear. Oh, no snowmobile right there. Okay, so another thing too is that the more points you score, the more time you get added. So after the timer goes down to 0, I'm going to get a lot more extra time. And as long as you keep scoring points and keep going fast, you're going to keep getting more extra time added. The first extend, so to speak, where you get extra time added is at 10,000 points. And from what I've read, if you get an extra 5,000 after that, for every 5,000 points you get after, you get more time added. I'm going to pass up that skier right there. And right here, the time is going to reset. Pass up another skier. I'll pick up some extra points as well, why not? And there's the finish line. Stage 2 always seems to go a little bit faster than stage 1 on these loops. And the second loop is just about done. Now for the jump again. I'm going to time this properly. Hit the button right there. And I'm going to see how far I go. And also, if you need to make sure you're counter steering here, because if you don't, you end up going into the trees. And now for loop 3. So this loop is going to go pretty much perfectly from a survival standpoint. I'm not going to crash one time in this loop, believe it or not. So I am going to take my time just a little bit at some points. I'm really aiming for survival here. I will grab some bonus items whenever possible and reasonable. Like I avoided the 500 points there, but I grabbed the 100s and the 200s. Gonna keep going. I just took my time steering around those trees. The layout's not really any different from what I've seen here. And that was stage 1 of the 3rd loop. Perfect run of it from a survival standpoint. And now for stage 2. I'm gonna pass up the skier. He wasn't much of a threat. We'll grab those bonus items. By the way, there is a way that you can kind of position yourself on some of these parts to where you can grab the items without hitting the flags. I'm still not very good at that, but it is possible. Or what you can do is, there are some parts where you can go on the sides of the flags and not lose points for touching the flags. Because you do lose points if you touch those flags, but sometimes it's not really that big of a deal. Especially if you're just playing for survival. If you're playing for score, it's a bigger problem for you. And that was another perfect stage. No crashes there. And now for the end of the 3rd loop. Another jump. Let's see how far I go this time. Alrighty. 3,500 points for my bonus. And now for loop 4. Now this is where my run starts going downhill a bit, let's just say. I found that the AI was starting to get a little bit more annoying in terms of the skiers. I did make some dumb mistakes as well. I'm gonna have a really dumb one coming up. But so far, for much of this, I'm gonna do okay. But there is something bad that's gonna happen to me soon. And that's it, right there. That's probably my biggest regret of this entire run. It wasn't that hard of a thing to dodge, and then I get another death right there. But I'm going to be real careful here, and I'm going to get past the snowmobile, take my time and dodge things. By the way, the controls of this game are not the best in terms of the steering. You can't really micro-dodge things. So whenever you dodge, it feels like there's a little bit of a looseness to it, let's just say. It's not very tight compared to more modern games. So you have to be very careful how you time your dodges. You want to dodge a little bit ahead of time because it feels like there's this intentional delay in the steering. And you can't really thread the needle in this game. And actually, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Elevator Action, which would come out a year later, where the controls in that game aren't very good either. The movement is pretty stiff. And it's kind of like that here as well. So I'm focusing on survival here. Oh, and I once again hit the snowmobile. They don't play very nice at this point. The further you go in this game, the more annoying these other skiers and the snowmobiles get. They get a lot more annoying. Now granted, since I'm scoring points, I'm getting my clock reset. The problem is, the more times the clock resets, whenever it resets over again, the time starts moving faster and faster. It starts running out faster. So you really don't get as much extra time as you think you do because of that. And this is the end of loop 4. Another jump. Let's see how well I do this time. Oh, gotta be careful there. But that was a really good jump though. Loop 5 is where reality starts to really set in regarding the difficulty. You're feeling the pressure big time at this point, as the clock runs out faster and faster with every reset. But the thing is, you've earned those resets if you've gotten this far, because you had to score a lot of points. So you had to keep going fast, keep grabbing those bonus items, and hitting those big jumps at the end of each loop. Which leads me to my next point. The beauty of this game is that scoring and survival are not entirely the same thing. They're not 100% connected. You can go slow and not hit anything, but yet you're not going to score as many points or get this far as a result. In fact, if you go watch the World of Long Plays run of this game, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. A run like that shows the limitations of long plays. Because long plays like that, I find they get exposed when they have to play games where scoring and survival are not 100% connected. Like this game and Cave Shmups. Because those runs are tool assisted, and they're going for being squeaky clean over scoring points typically. Now, of course, in this game, the less you die, the better off you are, because every time you get hit, you lose 10 seconds off the timer whenever you crash, and even more later on once the timer goes really fast, because the animation of you crashing gets factored in. However, not crashing is not enough to score. This game does an excellent job of pushing players to take risks instead of playing it safe. And that's why I love this game, because that wasn't necessarily a common thing back then. Now, yes, I did play it safe at times in this run. Like on the second stage of each loop, for example, I didn't really care if I was hitting flags a whole lot. But I still took risk in other places. I tried to go fast pretty often, for example, which led to me scoring more points than otherwise. The scoring as well as the risk versus reward dynamic is why I think this game holds up today despite the controls not aging that well. And now I'm just about done with loop 5. So I'm going to do one more big jump here. Going to make sure I don't hit the trees. It's not going to be my best jump though, but I still end up getting an extra 3,000 points. So now I'm in loop 6. I'm not going to get very far into it, but here's the final parts of the run. The clock is going extremely fast. Look how fast that clock is going. It's crazy. And there we go. That is it. Didn't last too long until loop 6. So that is going to be it for this commentary. I may come back to this game in the future to see if I can get past loop 6, but I am still proud of this run overall. If you have a PS4, PS5, or Switch, I recommend checking out the Arcade Archives release of Alpine Ski. Also, let me know what you think of this game and my run in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and consider subscribing for more content like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.